Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Jane. Sorry, I'm
Oh,
walking
Amin,
home.
hello.
I
Welcome.
don't wanna miss that. But I need to put my camera off. I'm sorry, but because I'm walking home. So
No worries.
I look forward to the session. Thank you.
Hello,
Hi,
Andrani.
Lynn and Indrani,
Hi.
some familiar faces. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Len. Hi, Amin. Hi, Deepak. Hi, Indrani. Hi.
Hi, Shinmay.
Hello everyone.
So it's already 6 o'clock. So we'll be starting with the webinar. So hello, everyone. Welcome to Coach to Transformation CCEU webinar. I'm your host, Chaitanya. So today we are joined by Dr. Jane Tuomola, a Singapore-based Master Certified Coach and a clinical psychologist originally from the UK. With over 15 years of experience and more than 2,500 plus hours of coaching hours, Jane has worked with leaders, healthcare professionals, and teams worldwide, guiding them through personal and professional transitions. And we are excited to have her with us today to share her insights on the topic thriving through transitions using solution focused coaching. With that, Dr. Jane, I'm handing it over to you.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting to be here with you and speak about a subject that I'm very passionate about. So let me share my screen. Okay, and the slides will be available. Chaitanya will be putting those in the chat for you, so you don't have to scribble furiously. You can have a copy of the slides. So I thought I would actually introduce myself through way of some of the transitions that I have been through and why this is a subject that I'm really passionate about. So as you can probably hear from my accent, I am British, but my parents are British, but I was born in Australia. I was only there till I was 2.5, so I don't remember it, but it was a really big part of my story. My family loved being in Australia, so that's always been part of who I am. And I moved to the UK, which is where I spent most of my life growing up. And then as an adult, because Australia was somewhere that I was born and somewhere I was from, I wanted to go and live there and see what is Australia like. And so I spent a year there about 25 years ago now, then moved back to the UK. So this is a little bit like a logic puzzle. If the first row equals these flags, what's the missing flag on the bottom? Because after that, I moved to Singapore in 2008. And my husband and I decided we wanted to do something exciting before we had a family and go somewhere together. And this is where it has mostly been my home for the last 13 years. We did spend some time in Finland, where my husband is from. So we moved Singapore to Finland for 4 years, and then we've been back for 5 years. And so I've moved around a lot. I've lived in 4 different countries. And one of the reasons, so I have a lot of personal experience of going through quite big transitions, both myself, with my husband, and then with our children. And it was when I actually moved to Singapore. So I started life as a clinical psychologist. So I've been a psychologist for more than 20 years. And I was finding a lot of the expats who would come and see me in my private practice either didn't have a mental health problem or certainly shouldn't have had a mental health problem if they had been given the right support through the transition to moving to Singapore. And I really felt they weren't actually looking for therapy. They didn't want to go into their past. There weren't necessarily any deep traumas to heal and work through. They just wanted to move forwards and really thrive in their life abroad. And that's how I came across the solution-focused approach, firstly as a solution-focused therapist and then as a solution-focused coach. And it was really the coaching that I felt sort of fitted with, this is what people are looking for. They want to move forwards. They just don't know how. And through those conversations, I can help them get back to who they want to be. Often people are like, I just want to be myself again. I want to feel happy here in the same way that I was before. So that's how I first got interested in transitions. So I used to do a lot of work with expats, or still do, but expats in transition. And then as I've gone through other transitions, as I've become a parent, I've done a lot of work with new mums. And then about 5 years ago, I became an executive coach. So I do a lot of work with sort of particularly people coming first-time team leaders, people moving up to C-suite, really helping people thrive in their role, transition in the workplace. So it's been a theme of my work ever since, for the last 15 or 17 years. So something I love talking about, but I would love to hear from you, or what transitions do you normally support clients with? It's often a lot of coaches build their coaching niche around transitions. You know, do you work with new parents? Do you support women through menopause? Are you a career coach helping people find a new role? So there's lots of transitions, you know, and often transitions are what bring people into coaching, in terms of things were fine, then there's a big change, and they're struggling to cope with that, or feel that they want to do their best in that new role or new transition. So I just give you a moment you can either go to menti.com and enter that code, or scan the QR code on your phone and just put down what transitions do you normally support clients with. So then I will stop sharing and we can have a look at the word cloud. Oh, except I'm on the wrong screen. Hang on one moment. Okay, so this takes a little bit of time to catch up with everybody entering, so I'll just give it a minute or two. Okay, wonderful. Career, life transitions, students. Yep, transitions, helping people get out of the comfort zone. Yep. Changing jobs, new roles. Yeah, lots of different career-related ones.
Could you please share that screen again, Jane?
Sorry?
Could you please share that screen, menti.com, and what else I had to type in there?
Yeah, it's on the top of this screen here. So if you go menti, menti.com, and the code is here on the top of the screen, 76512962. And you can obviously enter more than one transition, because like me, you know, you might support a range of transitions in the work that you do. Lovely. Life transitions, moving to a new country. Fantastic. Okay, so life transitions and career being the biggest ones. Okay, fantastic. So a lot of you here will have lots of experience. So this isn't me sharing just my expertise. I want to obviously build on what you already do well as well. So let me go back to my slides. Okay, so today I'm going to cover a little bit about what solution-focused coaching is, and then we're going to share just obviously there's lots of different things we do within that kind of overall model, but we're going to look at how do we listen in a solution-focused way, what kind of questions might we ask clients in terms of solution-focused questions to help them both think about where they want to be in terms of moving forwards and how they've already coped with the transition before. And I'm also going to share some cultural considerations. So when I moved to Singapore, I was really interested. I would go to a lot of mental health talks and hear what I'd basically been taught in the UK. And I was really curious about, well, is it the same here? Is it, you know, the cultural context is very different in Asia to the UK, where I've spent most of my life. And there weren't, at that point, there weren't a lot of good answers. So I was feeling quite unsatisfied. So that's something I've gone about in my journey as a coach and psychologist, to collect stories. So I've edited 2 books, one on solution-focused coaching in Asia, one on solution-focused practice in Asia, to really get stories of, well, how do we use it in this cultural context? So I will share some ideas, and hopefully there'll be lots of chance to interact and experience these ideas, and then plan what your takeaways are, what your next steps are from hearing the talk today. So I thought I would start with what is solution-focused coaching. So, I mean, obviously all coaching is about moving towards the future, but it's obviously a very future-focused, very strengths-based coaching approach. So what we really do is we're looking at what already works, we don't look at analysing people's problems. We're not interested in doing any kind of root cause analysis or what kind of limiting beliefs have you developed over your life that might be getting in your way here. It's really looking at what works and then building on that. So we're trying to access clients' resources and successes as those building blocks that we can move forwards with, and then we're really looking at what small steps can people take to get closer to their desired goal. So obviously most people come in, they don't necessarily start with a problem. It might just be, I want to make sure this transition goes well, or I want to be a good leader in my new role. But often people do come with, well, I'm not feeling as confident as I'd like to be, or I'm really struggling to manage day-to-day life in this new country, or, you know, I've become a parent. I was so excited about that step in my life, but actually it's harder than I thought. So people, you know, come with smaller or bigger problems, but they obviously have a goal that they would like to get to. So that's obviously what all coaches do, is find out a goal. And what we do, I guess, that's maybe a little bit different is it's really about the details. So we go beyond a goal. So somebody might say, well, you know, I want to feel better. I want to be happy in my day-to-day life. And we really explore what's important about that goal. What difference is it going to make in their life when they're, you know, living the life that they want to be, being the leader that they want to be, and then translate that big concept of, you know, maybe confidence or happiness or you know, whatever that they want, into detail. So for example, you know, there's a question people may have heard about called the miracle question, where we imagine people to wake up tomorrow and you already are the confident leader that you want to be, or the calm, happy parent that you would like to be. And we get lots and lots of detail talking through their day of exactly what that looks like. So that's often where we differ a little bit from some other coaching models, is the level of detail in creating that vision. And what's really interesting is there's been a lot of neuroimaging research that shows the same parts of the brain light up when you're imagining a goal as when you're or imagining something as when you're doing something. So by creating that detailed picture, we're actually creating the neural pathways that make it more likely that when that person does wake up tomorrow in their real life, in real tomorrow, that actually some of those things then become possible. And I've put a couple of references at the end of the slides. There's a wonderful author called Mark McCurgo, who based in the UK. He writes a lot about solution-focused coaching, and he does a lot of big, large-scale organizational change. And he calls it the idea of stretching the client's world. So we're really going from where are you to where is it you want to be, and get all of those details. And I guess what's also a little bit different about solution-focused coaching is a lot of coaches, therapists, my background, are interested in what's happening in a client's head. So what we call like between the ears. So the idea of a client has some reality or goals, and it's our job to sort of find out what's going on for them. Whereas solution-focused coaching is a postmodern social constructionist approach. So we're much more interested in what happens between the noses, as in what happens between my nose and my coachee's nose. So what's happening in our conversation? What are we co-creating together? So the idea that language actually shapes our reality. So if I ask you a question, what obstacles are getting in the way of your goal? You may not have thought of obstacles, but now I've created obstacles for you just through my question. Or if I ask, something like, what strengths can you draw on to help you towards your goal? I'm, you know, creating a completely different conversation and a completely different things that the client is accessing. So the use of language is, you know, we construct our questions very deliberately and carefully. So after we have that wonderful goal of, you know, what would thrive, I mean, my word is thriving through transitions. I very rarely had a client say, I want to thrive through this transition. That's much, much more my label for this. So it's really important we use the client's words. So we, first of all, create their goal in lots of detail. And then, sorry, let's get back on the slide. And then what we want to do is find out, where are they already? So the idea is they start at 1, they want to get to 2. So the point 3 on this slide is, where are they at already? Nobody is starting from 0. So what is already happening that is good, that they want to keep happening, that they're actually doing well at in relation to their goal? And again, what we want to do is get lots of details about what it is that's already there and how have they done that. That's the really important part. Often a lot of people might ask, well, let's look at the times that are bad and understand why it's bad or what's triggered. a negative thought, whereas we're really interested in, well, when did it go well? And how did you do that? So the more we are consciously aware of the more we are aware of what's going well, the more we can consciously do even more on it to build on that to go forward. So again, we get lots and lots of details. And then we look at what's their next little step. So wherever they are, if they're at a 3 on the scale, we're not asking why you're not at a 10. We're asking how come you're already at a 3, not a 2. And then suppose you move up to a 4 out of 10, what would be different? So we get that big picture and then we turn it into manageable steps forward. So that's a little bit about what solution-focused coaching is. And please do, if there's any questions, please do pop them in the chat and I will stop at various points and go through any questions that come up. And one of the things that as I said, language is really important in terms of what assumptions are behind our questions. So there's a few assumptions in the solution-focused approach. There's more than this, but I've identified some of them. Things like change is happening all the time. So we want to identify what's useful in that change. There is no one right way of looking at things. There might be lots of different views. So we're open to multiple realities. The idea that I found really hard when I first came across solution-focused coaching is that, we don't have to understand the problem. Sometimes understanding the problem doesn't actually help getting to a solution, because often people go, well, I know why it's a problem, but I still don't know what to do next. So we don't go there and don't analyze the problem. We're looking for what will take somebody forwards. So we really want to look for, what small changes already there, what clues are there to the solutions, but we're not forcing people, because as I will talk about soon, there's a lot of grief and loss when there's change. So even though people might choose a new job or choose to move country, there's a lot we often miss from how things were. So I will look at how we kind of balance those going forward. So I just had a lovely question in the chat. Is it more about the what than the who? I mean, we often start, or often people come starting with the what. Well, I want this to be better, but we really expand that to who is it you want to be in this transition? What kind of parent do you want to be? What kind of leader do you want to be? Who do you want to be in your life going forward? So it's definitely not just focusing on the what. We really expand it because it's all about how do you want to be, and therefore what will your life look like when you are that version of yourself that you want to be in your life. So there's a little bit of similarity to the GROW model. We're obviously looking at people's kind of goals and the current reality, but in terms of the O, we very deliberately don't look at obstacles. As I said, we don't want to create things that are not there. If a client comes and talks about obstacles, we may ask about those in a slightly different way, but we don't want to assume there are obstacles. We want to look at where do you want to get to, or suppose those obstacles weren't getting in the way, what would then be different? So it's sort of a much kind of, and solution focus is much more a philosophy. It's not just a sort of set of techniques or questions. It's a way that we see our clients. We see our clients as the expert in their life. We, see the change process as that there's always some useful change happening. No problem happens all the time. So there's a lot to it. I would recommend, if you're interested, to read the book. I can also share later some blog articles, because there's a lot to it. This is a very, very short. I could do a whole hour on what the solution-focused approach is, but I just wanted to give you a little taste before looking at how do we use this when working with clients in transition. So thank you for those questions. And I think what I like about it, or why it kind of works really well, is we're always seeing people in their strengths. Often people come with, I'm not coping with the transition, or I'm not a good leader. So we kind of assume that people are capable, they are resourceful, they do have strengths, that they do have the ability, even if they're not in touch with that yet, that we trust that they do have the ability to manage their situation and move forward. So we ask very specific questions, not like if you become the leader that you want to be, it's when you become the leader that you want to be, or tell me about some of the strengths and resources that you have. So it's very particular use of language and questions. So what's really important is, with the solution process, we always start with client successes, what's already working well. So I want you guys just to take a moment by yourself to note down, what do you already do that works well when you're supporting clients facing transitions? So really connect with what's already working for you, and then I will share some ideas about how I work, and then see there might be things you also want to try, but I want you to connect with your strengths. So let me just give you a minute or two to write that down by yourselves. Now it's going to be about 10 more seconds. Obviously, you can carry on afterwards, connect with more, but we'll just collect as much as we can for now. Because what's really interesting is that there's research that shows that when you go on any training courses, you can actually do harm by disrupting what people are already doing well, by giving them new ideas. So I really want to connect with you, keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what works, and then I will share some ideas. And if you find them useful and you want to experiment, great. If you don't, that's fine as well. So I just picked 2 of the ICF core competencies to focus on to give you a little bit of an idea of what the solution-focused approach looks like in action. So we're going to focus firstly on listens actively and then evokes awareness. So what we're kind of looking for, I guess, here is, we're really listening to what a client is saying, what they're not saying. I will do an exercise with you in a moment. That often clients, it's about when is there more than what they're saying. They might be saying one thing, but how can we expand on that? And we're really looking at trends and patterns, and looking at sort of what's important. So obviously any coaching process, not just solution focused, we're obviously listening to our clients. We select something from what they've said to choose to build on. And so how we select what to build on, I will share. This is a wonderful model by Hasten Moon, who's a communications researcher in Canada, from Korea originally, and she runs a coaching school. And she has come up with what's called the dialogic orientation quadrant, which sounds quite complicated, but it's basically at any time in a conversation, what is a client talking about? So across the horizontal axis, we have, first of all, on the right, we have the future. The middle would be the present when we're sitting with our client. And this is the past. So the horizontal axis is going from the past to the future. And the vertical axis is going from negative to positive. And by negative and positive, I don't mean negative emotions, sort of going from sadness to happiness, but anything negative, anything the client doesn't want, moving towards positive, anything they want more of in their life. So they might well want to manage their anger in a healthy way. So they might actually want to express more anger, not have less anger, but it's about what is it the client's moving towards that they want more of. So at any point in a coaching conversation, a client could be talking about their preferred future. They could be talking about their past in terms of what's positive in the past. They could be talking about worries about the future, what they're dreading from the future, or they could be talking about past problems. And what we do in the solution-focused approach is very much focus on the top 2. So we're really wanting to look at what is it a client wants to go forwards towards, and how can we draw on the past in a useful way to help them move even further forwards. So while we obviously very much listen and empathize with problems when people talk about them, we're not going digging in the past. We're not asking more questions about the problems. So we're really trying to help them connect with the positives from the future and their past. And obviously as I mentioned, when working with transitions, there's often a lot of excitement. Often people have chosen the transition. They're looking forward to the new job. They're choosing to become a parent. They're choosing to move country. But along with that comes a lot of losses. So I'm missing my friends back home. I miss the freedom I had before I had a new baby, or I miss my colleagues from my old job. So obviously in coaching, it's not to the extent where somebody may have a mental health problem or a lot of trauma that they're healing from, but there's going to be a lot of mixed emotions around in the session. So what we very much want to do is, while I've said we're looking towards the future, we also want to acknowledge their reality. If they're sharing that it's been tough, we might acknowledge, wow, it sounds like you're having a tough time at the moment. But what we don't do is stay there. We don't kind of sit there and expand that. We might say, so what is it you would like instead of that? So what we're trying to do is balance both the acknowledgement with a question or idea about what progress would they like to see, even while there's still some difficulties. Because if we only focus on the progress and we don't acknowledge, then they're not going to think we're taking them seriously. They're not going to come with us. If we only focus on, wow, that's tough, tell me more about how tough it is, then the risk is that we drag people downwards and get stuck. So we really want to balance the, really acknowledging, yes, it has been tough, and what possibilities might there be, or how have you been coping with those problems despite this? And I love this. So my children speak Mandarin. I don't, unfortunately. I have learned a few words being in Singapore, but not many. But what I love is the the written Chinese language, how much is embodied in one character. So this is the character Ting, to listen. And within that, there is ears. So we're obviously always listening with our ears. There's eyes. We're paying attention to how the client's presenting, what their energy is like, what they're showing with their body language. We're listening, I love this, to each and every client as if they were a king. So giving each person as much respect as if they were a king. We give the sort of 100%, so 10 or maximum focus to each client. And we're really kind of listening with one heart. So really, you know, really paying attention to what they're saying, what they're doing, who they are, what's important to them. So I just love that idea of really listening to our clients in that way. So I'm going to have, we're going to do a little bit of exercise. So Chaitanya or Chinmay, whoever's doing it, could you set up the breakout rooms? We're going to put you in threes because I assume not everybody may be in the position to talk or come off camera. So put the camera on. So 2 of you will do this exercise and then there'll be 1 observer. And I guess what we're doing in solution focused is really paying attention to, out of all of the problems that a client may be sharing, what is useful? What is this telling us about strengths? What is it telling us about resources? What is it telling us about the client's values? You know, what's really important to them? So we're doing quite a fun exercise. So you'll get to do it each way. And I want person A to think about something that really bothers you. Obviously, something you're happy sharing in this context. It might be, for example, I hate when people queue jump. It's so rude, you know, when people push into each other or they don't give each other personal space, whatever it is, but really, really complain as much as you can about this thing. And person B is going to listen. You're not going to be asking questions or summarizing or paraphrasing. You're just listening. And when the person has finished, I want you to give them 3 compliments. So it might be, wow, I'm so impressed with your patience and perseverance in this situation. You told me that you'd done X, Y, and Z, or it really sounds like you're the sort of person that fairness is really important, or this is something you really value. So we're giving somebody a compliment based on what we've heard. So I'm just going to stop sharing. I saw there was a couple of questions in the chat. Let me just see. Okay, so let me just put the instructions so you have those in the breakout rooms. So are there any questions before we head to the breakout rooms? No, all good. Okay, fantastic. So if you set off the breakout rooms, I will see you all back in 7 minutes. So you'll have time to do it 3 minutes complaining and a quick compliment, 3 compliments each way. Okay, Simone has asked not to be put in a breakout room. So I don't know where she was supposed to be. Oh, sorry, there's 2 people in her room already, so that's okay. Hopefully we have at least 2 people in each room. Okay, no worries, Amin. Okay, so we have a couple of rooms where there's only 1 person. So I don't know whether you could maybe move people around so we get at least 2 active people in each room. No worries if you can't join. We will do something here as well while we're waiting. I just want to make sure everybody has somebody. I think we still have oh, Angie's come back. So I was just about to say, Angie, you were on your own in a room. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We were going to put you in a room with. Can we put Angie in room 14 because Suket's on his or her own in room 14. And I think everybody else has got 2 people. Okay, have we got a countdown timer on? I can't see one. Okay. Okay, so I think everybody's okay. So maybe if what we could do, so Chinmay has very kindly volunteered to be my guinea pig. So for those of you who can't actively participate in a room, at least you can watch a demonstration of doing this. So Chinmay is going to be my complainer. She is going to complain for 3 minutes about whatever it is that's bothering her, and then I will give her some compliments based on what I've heard. So over to you, Chinmay.
So to just complete, is it?
Yes, just complain to your heart's content.
Okay. All right. So from the starting of the day, so I would like to complain about the Bangalore traffic, the way I travel to the office, the busiest buses I travel in, where there will be no place to sit, and after coming to office, there will be few silly fights with the colleagues where they won't agree to the point which I will be telling them to look at it. And what else? Okay, the food which I have got wasn't nice today, which I couldn't have in the afternoon, of course. And what else? What else to complain about?
Well, just keep on the same topic. So tell me a little bit more about the traffic and the busyness and how much that bothers you, what it is that bothers you about that.
Okay, the most annoying part of the traffic is the people who travel in a single cars, only a single person, not doing a carpooling with their neighbors or the colleagues, but whomever they travel to. And that's the most annoying part, where there will be huge traffic jam in certain places of the Bangalore, where I get sometime late to the office, which I hate to do it on the days. I hate to be late to the office at any point of time. So yes, that's another thing. And
Wonderful. Keep going. I think you have another minute. It's really hard to do this, but
seriously,
keep complaining. Tell me how this gets in your way,
I'm,
or how much this bothers you.
I'm really bad at complaining at things though.
You're doing a
So
great job.
so regarding the okay, sometimes due to this heavy traffic, I don't even get a autos or the rickshaws to come to office from a certain point of time, and I had to walk all the way to the office from the bus stop where the bus will be dropping me off to the office. And due to the hot weather, I'll be sweating all over. That's the most hatest part, I can tell that. And I require like some 30 minutes to just cool down myself to concentrate on my work. So yes,
Okay,
that's all.
wonderful. Thank you so much for complaining. So what I would like to do is share some compliments that as I was listening, it sounds like you're the kind of person who is very responsible. You care about your job, you care about turning up on time to do your job, and you want to arrive in a fit state to do your job. You want to be cool and calm and able to just get straight on with the work rather than having to cool down from the heat. And it sounds like you're also the kind of person who's very thoughtful and thinking about, who's using which cars on the road. Could people be more considerate of each other and share cars together? And, it sounds like you're very thoughtful, and it's annoying that not everybody shares that same consideration for others, or maybe even the environment. I'm not sure if that's something important to you as well. Okay, well, thank you for doing that. I'll wait till everybody's back to just share a little bit more about the exercise. Wonderful, we've got a minute to come out. Thank you for volunteering for doing that.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much.
So whoever got dropped out, we've got about 10 seconds till everybody comes back. So we won't put you back in the room.
All right, thanks.
For example, अगर मैं चला really appreciate that. Practice driver. मैं start दबाऊंगी तो मेरे को automatically assist करेगा वो.
Welcome back to everybody. So hopefully that was a bit of fun. If we did a demo in the room for anybody who couldn't join a breakout room, so Chinmay did a wonderful job of complaining, and you might have found like she did, it's actually quite hard to do sometimes, to complain for 3 minutes straight. But we often do have clients who, you know, there are some really genuine complaints that I'm really struggling with this new job and my new boss or my new colleagues, or I'm really struggling. Oh, it's exhausting being a new mum. And sometimes it can be really hard to listen to people's problems. Obviously, you know, we're in our job because we want to make a difference to people. And what I love about the solution focused approach is about we're listening in a different way. We're listening despite the complaints. We're listening for what is somebody's strengths? What can we complement them? What is it indicating they may want more of in their life? Or, you know, what kind of values are important to them? Because then we can build questions on that in terms of asking, well, what's important as you go forwards? You know, it sounds like you're the kind of person who wants more this in your life. Somebody just had a hand up and it's gone down. So I don't know if that person changed their mind about asking a question, or is there something that they would still like to ask?
I think it was
that was me, Jane.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say was it was a great experience going through this exercise, Jane. Firstly, sharing about what you're frustrated about. And secondly, while you're listening, when you want to evoke awareness as a listener to the other person, but the homework was that you have to appreciate or compliment the person, which was, I mean, so you're really focusing on the positive aspect of it. So thank you for this experience. Really appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad it was helpful. It's a really different, it's one that what I do when I do coach training, we always get our participants to do this exercise, and we have a lot of fun, because I think, you know, we can show that we're listening and really validating people in lots of different ways. So we might validate, oh my God, this is, you really annoyed about this, this, and this. And they're like, yes. Or you can say, well, actually, it sounds like you're the person who wants more of this, and this is really frustrating because you're the kind of person who cares about this. And they're like, yes. But it's a really different experience. So what we're validating and connecting with is really different for people, and it can connect much more quickly with what is it they want more of, what do they want instead, who do they want to be, and give us clues about what's important. So I love doing that exercise with people. Okay, I'm going to go back to my slides. Okay, so then the next core competency we're going to look at is evokes awareness. So we can evoke awareness through our listening and through what we follow choose to summarize. So thank you, Dheeraj, for saying that. But what we do is, you know, I guess all coaching models will ask really, really important questions to help clients evoke awareness in different ways. So what we're looking at is, I guess, particularly, you know, helping a client explore beyond their current thinking. So where is it they want to get to? Who do they want to be? What do they want to be different as they go through this transition? And sit, I mean, obviously all of them are important, but two that I'm picking out. Number 6, noticing what's working to enhance client progress, because we're all, you know, as human beings, we're all hardwired to see problems because it's survival strategy. You know, we need to know what's not working to avoid problems in the future. But what we do is turn that on its head and go, well, let's look at what is working. And that really requires training people's attention to, okay, despite this and this difficulty, what is going well in your new job? What are you proud of as a new mom? You know, what is working already? Because the more you're consciously aware of it, the more they can do even more of that to take them forwards. Because often clients don't see the gold nugget in the pile of stones that they might be experiencing at the moment. So I'm going to share some ideas about some possible useful questions. So as I mentioned on the dialogic orientation quadrant, we really focus on 2 areas, the resourceful past and the preferred future. So some of the kinds of questions that we might ask about the resourceful past, well, how have you been coping so far? You know, they're on their way through this transition. They've obviously things they have been doing that hopefully have helped. Or often people, you ask that and they go, oh, I'm not. You know, that's quite a common, they don't feel they are because they have some picture of what coping looks like. But we can also connect with previous transitions, even if it's the first time they're in a team lead role. There may have been other experiences in their life, other transitions that they've been through, or other leadership experiences in the school context or university or in their family that might be helpful to tap into to help them with this transition. And we really want to look at what did they value from the previous situation that they could take forward. So if it's an end of a relationship and a new relationship, what did you value from your relationship? Or what would you like to, or if somebody's died, what would you like to see live on from your previous relationship? Because that can really help. Well, actually what I'm missing is somebody to do X, Y, and Z with, or I really miss being able to share deeply. And then we can look at, well, how might you get more of that in your life, even though you're not in a relationship, or even though this person has died. What did you appreciate about your old job and want to keep going forwards? Or what aspects of your life in your previous country would you like to keep? So for example, I forgot to share, when I was sharing all the photos, I very deliberately shared photos of me hiking. So I used to get dragged around by my parents hiking all over England. And through that developed a love for being outdoors and in nature and climbing mountains. And that's something in all the places I've lived, I really try and do that. And we now take our children, we plan our holidays on Singapore is very flat. For anybody who doesn't know, there's like one hill of like 164 meters. We love mountains, so we try and plan holidays around mountains. So it's thinking what, even though I'm in a different country, how can I connect with activities that I love doing? How can I have more of that in my current life? And as I mentioned at the beginning, in terms of what the solution-focused approach is, we often do scaling, and everybody is familiar with scaling, but often we're used to problem-focused scales where, somebody might ask, if your anxiety is 10 out of 10 and 0 is you're calm, how bad is your anxiety? Well, we turn it the other way around, of 10 is always the positive that they want to move towards. So suppose 10 out of 10 is you're satisfied, you're doing as well as possible. Where are you already? What's got you there and not lower? Or what have you learned from this transition that might help you in the future? So we're really looking at what's working, how they are coping, what's already going right, what do they want to keep from their past going forwards, and what they've learned that could be useful. And again, these are not the only things that we do, but I'm just picking out 2 aspects for the purposes of today. And the other thing that we very much do is create that, what is it they want? So for example, how will you know you are coping as well as possible in the situation? Or what would you like to be different in your new relationship or your new job? Or suppose you move up the scale, how would you notice that? Or what would thriving look like? Or how would you notice embracing this change a little bit more each day? What would you like to be noticing as you move to this new phase of your life? So it's all about clues to the future that they want more of. And some of it's about the what, and some of it is, so thanks whoever asked that earlier, it's very much who do you want to be? What kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of partner do you want to be? What kind of parent do you want to be? What the important people in your life, what would they be noticing about you? And some of it's also balancing. So suppose, sometimes it's balancing the old and the new. So suppose you were both connecting with friends back home and family back home while also making connections in your new country. What would you be noticing? So sometimes it's kind of both and. How do I keep the good from my old life or old job, keep connected to my old colleagues while connecting in my new job? So I want to give you a bit of a chance in breakout rooms to practice some of these questions. Oh, sorry, 1 minute. Sorry, there's one more slide I need to share before I put you in breakout rooms. So I'm going to do in pairs. We'll only have time to go one way round because of timing. So Chinmay, if you could set the rooms up, we'll just do six minutes so we can just have a few questions. So choose who's going to be the coach and who's going to be the coachee. So if you, as the coachee, if you're currently facing a transition, you may be in transition, your coach could ask you about, well, what would you like to see as part of that transition? If you're not, then you might just choose a past transition. So something where your coach can ask you about, how did you manage that? What did you learn from that might help you forward? So we're looking at ways of connecting with your strengths and resources from that transition. So I will just paste all of those questions in the chat. So we'll just do one person be coach for 5 minutes, and then either practice some resourceful past questions or, oh, sorry, my post is too long to fit in the chat. Let me split it up, sorry.
Same groups will do, Jane?
Same groups, yeah. So I'm gonna have to paste this as 3 separate messages because it's too long. Okay, so that's use the example, either the past or the future. Those are your resourceful past questions, and Let me just paste the preferred future question. So just have a play around with asking some solution focused questions in your groups, and I'll see you back in 7 minutes, 6 minutes.
Jane, hi, it's Simon. Since I can't join the breakout room, is it possible if I can just ask you a question?
You can, yes, please do.
Yeah. Okay. So I dealt with a lot of clients who are.
Sorry, can I just pause you for a minute? I'm just sure there's somebody on their own in a breakout room. I just want to make sure that everybody has a partner. Okay, Chinmay or Chaitanya, we've got somebody in room.
Assigning.
Oh, you're signing. So yes, room 16. If you could maybe put them in a 3. Wonderful, thank you. Sorry, yes, I've lost who was asking me the question. Sorry, please.
Simon, me.
Simon, yes.
So I've dealt with a lot of career transitions, actually role transitions, same organization but looking for another role. And what comes across is like, yes, this is something what they want to do, but then when I actually say, okay, what are the steps? What do you think is the next step? Then it gets a bit wishy-washy. Like, yeah, I know I should do this. And so there seems to be a surface level, this is what I want, but then the to make that transition happen. And they'll say that, yeah, I've been wanting to do this for the last 2 years, but then I had a child and then I've got this thing. And they might even say, I'm even in a comfort, like they'll tell me that I know I might be in a comfort zone, but so what do you do then? In your
great question. Yeah, there's a lot of people go, I know what I should be doing or I want to do, and I'm not doing it. So I guess there's a couple of things. So one, I would explore almost like, well, which part of you wants this? What is it you're wanting from this transition? What part of you maybe is less keen or is cautious about, depending on the client's words, because there's often good reason why they're not doing what they know would be helpful or could be helpful. So I'd really look at, what do we need to pay attention to that maybe part of you is not ready yet to move forward. So it might be exploring that part is really helpful, because that might give some clues about what they want more of. And I guess what SF does, because if you ask, for example, somebody, right, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What do you think you should do to get there? Or what's your next step? They might say either, I don't know, that's why I'm here, or well, I know, but I'm not doing it. So what SF does is, well, suppose you had moved a little step further forwards, what would you be seeing different? So what would you notice? Not what would you do, but what would you notice when you are a step forwards? And then they will often give you, actually, well, what I might be doing is, setting my alarm clock and getting up early and, making sure I have some me time before I connect with the kids or something. So then you've asked them a very different question. So not what I do, because that's like a very active, but suppose you had done it already, what would be there? And that will often then give manageable clues to, oh, well, I could actually wake up tomorrow morning and set my alarm. Because it's then come from them. So that's how we do it. What do you notice? And then now that you've shared what you're noticing, what ideas do you have about what you might like to try? So it just bypasses the stuckness of the how and gets to what would be different, which then often frees up somebody's mind to think, oh yes, I could take that little step, or it actually isn't, because they're often thinking I'm here and I've got to get to here, and that just feels too big. Whereas if we just ask them to imagine here, what the next tiny step forwards would look like, then they tell us, then it's easier for them to do that. So that's a couple of ideas.
That's great.
And sometimes we can, because scaling is very versatile. So we might scale, 10 out of 10 is you're at your goal already, you're the kind of parent you want to be or the kind of leader you want to be. But we can also ask, well, 10 out of 10 is you're as motivated as you could be to move forwards and make the next steps, and 0 is no motivation at all. Where are you already? So they might say, actually, I'm a 3. And then we might say, okay, how come you're 3 and not lower? Or then where would you need to be on that motivation scale to be ready to take those next steps? So often that, and sometimes it's about allowing people to rest, because if you've been through a big change, maybe you just need to stop and be with it before you take a next step. Sometimes it's allowing people not to change. Ironically, then helps them feel, well, actually, maybe I could. A few ideas for you there.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I've lost track of time. I don't know how long we've got left, but if anybody else has any questions, please. Oh, we've got one minute till everybody comes back. But if there are any other questions, pop them in the chat or just let me know.
And then Jane, do you ever question, like, do you ever use the whole challenge part? Like, you know, like if they said they're going to create their resume by the next session and they haven't done that and you've seen a pattern, at what stage do you feel comfortable, you know, saying, hey, are you?
I think the solution focused assumption is there's a good reason why they're not doing it. So instead of going, well, how come you haven't done it? Not that we ask in a judgmental way, but you know, saying I'm assuming, you know, at the last 3 sessions you've told me you're going to do this and yet you haven't. So I'm assuming there's a good reason, something's getting in the way, you know, or what is this telling you about what's the right thing to do right now? So we go at it from a what's useful or about what they're not doing, if that makes sense, because you know, it's not our job to make somebody do their resume, but tap in, you know, there might be something else standing in the way that we could then usefully talk about.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. So I've just got a couple more slides and then there hopefully might be time for questions. So this is obviously a very, very brief taster of A, the solution focused approach, and B, transitions. So I do have references if people are interested in reading more. But I just want to share a little bit about cultural considerations. So when I first moved to Singapore and I was working as a psychologist, what I would often do is kind of assess somebody on, you know, you've probably all come across the sort of cultural transition curve, or, you know, everybody goes through the honeymoon stage and then sort of drops down and kind of comes back up again to acceptance. And that can take several months to go through that process. And I would often assess people on where are you and where do I think you should be based on how long it's been since you have moved country or whatever, in what I thought was helpful way. And often people did find it helpful to hear about that model and know that it was normal that they hadn't moved further, but there was still a sort of a preconceived idea of what they should be doing. And I guess what we do in SF is we try and avoid that. We don't think there's any right way to go through a transition. So we're really looking at what is the client wants in terms of this transition, what aligns with their values and their priorities, and what's important to them, what sort of feels like the right pace to them. So that makes it very applicable across different cultural backgrounds, because I can ask, you know, I use the client's words, I ask what the client wants. So for example, you know, in terms of coming from the UK, it's a very individualistic culture. So if I was starting a new job, it might be much more about my achievement and me feeling happy in my role. Whereas if you're in the Asian cultural context, it might be much more important to have kind of team harmony and really focus on everybody else rather than yourself. So what it does is it allows anywhere on the spectrum. So how would you notice this transition going well? Well, actually my team would be happy, or actually I would be noticing this. So it really allows the person to construct their future from their frame of reference in terms of what is helpful. So some of the ways that it fits in terms of the cultural context. So I haven't got into it today, but in the solution focused approach, we ask a lot of relationship questions. How would your partner be noticing this progress? How would your boss be noticing you really thriving in your new role? How would your direct reports notice? So we look at multiple perspectives of what the change process looks like. And that really fits with the collective values of other people being really, really important. And it also, I've mentioned that already, the idea of harmony, you know, we can balance individual goals and the family. It doesn't have to be either or, it can be both and. How would you notice feeling as good as you could in this transition while, you know, while your family was happy? Because I work with a lot of Singaporeans who have been expats elsewhere and come back, choose to work with me because they're then saying, well, I'm actually finding it really hard to fit back into my family. I was studying in the US for 3 years and had a lot of autonomy, and then now I'm living back with my parents again, and oh my goodness, how do I balance that? So we can really explore what is it that would be good enough to balance the individual and the family or the team goals. It's very pragmatic. People do not, you know, want to make progress quickly. So solution focused coaching, it very much does that. It's a very efficient, effective approach, and very much not surface level. It can come across as, well, you know, we're just taking next steps and looking at the what, but we really look at the who do people want to be, and let's, you know, make some really significant changes for people. And the other thing in terms of, you know, people don't want to lose face. There's a lot of stigma about talking about problems in any way. So it's really about, you know, we're looking at the positives and what's working rather than let's look at what's not working, or, you know, sort of weaknesses or failures in any way. And one of the other things we do, we ask that we often give clients compliments. That's not a very culturally normative thing to do. It's also not normative in the UK to give people compliments, but often instead of asking direct questions about strengths or giving direct compliments, we often kind of give very evidence-based compliments or talk about really sort of observable behaviors rather than things that may not fit. So it fits really nicely in the cultural context. So that is it from me. What I want you to do is maybe just take a minute by yourself and think, what are your takeaways? So I asked you at the beginning to start with, what do you do well already? And I'm really curious, what might you combine, or anything that you've heard from today, what might you like to try and combine this with what you're already doing well, what you might like to try and take forwards. So just take a moment by yourselves. I'm just checking if there's any questions in the chat. That's the form. There's a, if you want to get CCEUs, please make sure you click on the link in the chat. And then there's time for very brief questions if anybody has any questions. Oh, just to share, so 2 things. I've shared with you some references. So this book called The Solution Focus is kind of the Bible in solution focused coaching by Mark McCurgo and Paul Z. Jackson. So that's a really, really good one. I've referenced the next generation of solution focused practice. That's more about therapy, but still useful. And then the book that I edited, so the talk that I've done today comes from the chapter I wrote, Thriving Through Transitions. And sadly, the open access hasn't kicked in yet, so I can't share the chapter with you just yet, but it's a wonderful collection of stories of how this works in the Asian context. And I've also included a link to a podcast. So I was interviewed recently on solution focused listening. So this is for anybody, not just coaches, to think about how do we show up in all of our relationships and listen in a solution focused way, what the benefits are if you want to listen. And obviously do connect on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people that I've met through CTT. So please do connect. Okay, wonderful. Couple of minutes. I'm happy to stay around a little bit as well. We've got 3 minutes for questions.
Hello, Jane.
Or comments. Yes.
Hi, my name is Khalid.
Hi,
I'm based out of Singapore. So
excellent.
yeah, I was just thank you so much for today's sharing. I really enjoy. I've come across Dr. Hasemun's work on the dialogic quadrant. But I think what got me curious was actually the early exercise about how you got us to bring in the language of appreciation. And I wonder if that's something that's connected with the appreciative inquiry approach in facilitation, in conversations. Any comments on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap with solution focused idea and appreciative inquiry. They have a slightly different process of like four Ds in terms of design, I guess, and design your future. I can't remember the steps, but there is a lot of overlap. What they do is, I guess, kind of use stories and narratives a little bit more in terms of tell me a story about a good leader who you've had in your life that you were inspired by, or sort of connecting with. And that works really well in a team, because I do a lot of team coaching and I use appreciative inquiry in that as well, of like, let's discuss as a team, some examples where you've all collaborated really well together. Let's tell some stories to each other, and then let's extract what's useful for our team or how we'd like to move forward. So there's a lot of overlap in terms of what's working well in the future, just some slight differences in how we go about it or the kind of questions. Sorry, I'll just stop sharing so I can see you all. Yeah. So great question. Thank you. Any other questions before we finish? Or Chinmay, I don't know whether we always, for example, our ICF Singapore meetings, we always take a group photo. I don't know whether you do that or not. If so, please do.
We would love to take it.
Wonderful. Take me off the spotlight then, so I'm not big. Just take a screen of everybody rather than just me. Okay, so somebody will do a 1, 2, 3 smile so we all know to keep our eyes open and look at the camera.
Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, thank you so much, Yadap. Thank you so much,
Wonderful.
Jane, for the excellent session. For the CCU certificate, we cannot backdate the dates, guys. So please fill the form, which please click on the link for the CCU certificate, which is shared by Chaitanya. So it will be automatically coming to your email ID.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I love speaking about this topic. So I hope everybody has something to take away, and please do connect. Or if you have any more questions or want to connect on LinkedIn and have a chat, please do, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks, Jane. It was wonderful.
Lovely to see you, but not see you. I mean, we'll catch up in Singapore.
Yes, yeah. We sure. Let's catch up. Yeah. But I love the presentation.
Thank you. Well, take care, everybody.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you,
See
Jane.
Bye.
Jane. Thank you. See you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
I need to run away as well to say goodnight to my children before bedtime. So thank you for having me. And Chinmay, I'll see you on Saturday for teaching.
Absolutely, Jane. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.